So, Ward,
Yes.
it's another podcast.
Yep.
It's another cold open that we do so well every time. I begin to wonder increasingly when throughout these of why I continue to bother doing them. But there we go. So yes, welcome back to On the Spotcast number 30 something. I will have a look very briefly. 36.
Mm.
30,
I was just, I was just about to say 36.
almost at the big 40
Oh, oh.
and then the big
Mm.
50. Will we
Mm.
make it to 50 podcasts?
Before, before what?
The sun consumes the universe.
I think we'll have been dead several billion years by then. So, you
Well,
know.
that's a fucking spirit. Well, I don't know. Did our last podcast didn't even make it to 50? Did we? I don't think we
I mean,
did.
our last podcast.
Hmm.
I mean, our last podcast. We didn't do a last
Well,
podcast.
the one from the Forbidden Channel that doesn't exist in wiped from history.
Um,
What was it called?
yeah, I don't know. I just know it's sitting there alongside Illuminate.
Podcast Sundays.
That's a callback.
Yeah, I don't think we even got to 50 episodes in that. I
I
think
have
we did.
no idea.
I think we did like 30 something episodes of that, so about at the same point now.
Uh-huh.
If we can make it to 50, I'd say that's an achievement.
Achievement unlocked.
That said, we've been doing this since 2020, so probably since 2019 actually.
I will look it up right now. I will
So in
go and look.
theory, if we did one every week like we said we were going to, we probably would have been on about 200 by now. So um,
To be
maybe it's
fair, with
not
these
such an
do it in the
achievement.
pandemic, what else are you going to do?
Maybe it's not such an achievement after all. But anyway, whilst Alex is looking that up, today's podcast topic is a movie one because was it last week? No, the week before last, I believe, to the time of this recording at least. Alex and I ventured off to Novigrad together.
Our first, our first few podcasts were like 20 minutes to half an hour. Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember those days?
I do.
Okay.
That's when they
Guess
had
what the
straight.
first,
That's when
guess
they had.
what date the first video you uploaded on here was? Guess the date.
You want me to get? Wait, what am I guessing?
The date of the very first thing you put on Winging It. The
Would have been
upload date.
my would have been my like channel trailer or introduction or
Yep.
something, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Um, it's got to be in 2019, hasn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Um, 17th of August.
Yeah. 15th of January.
Oh,
Yeah.
older than I thought.
Yeah. We're over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a success it has been for everyone.
Exactly.
So yes. Anyway, as I was saying, a few weeks ago, Alex and I ventured into the unknowns, across the wilds, into the land of Novigrad, and
Again.
watched three films of plenty.
The marathon.
Those films were Uncharted,
Yes.
No Way Home, and The
Okay.
Batman.
Yeah.
We watched all three and decided there and then that we weren't going to make a podcast. And then Bruno said he'd like to see a podcast. And then we thought we don't have any content, so we're making a podcast on it.
And speaking of Mr. Corbella, we are currently recording this on
His
the 4th of, oh, what the fuck? Oh, that's the second one I watched. What is the date? Oh wait, it's down my calendar. The 30th of March, which is Mr. Bruno Corbello's birthday.
It is.
Mr. Corbello.
It
Corbella.
is. It is his birthday, and we apologise again for the audio not being top notch, but we are once again, as you can see, recording over the interwebs because I am no longer in the country of Britain.
Ben has officially moved out to Sweden. He wishes.
Well, I am coming back
I'm so glad.
because I have to legally. But yes, so I've left. I've left the land of the Witcher now. Let's say I'm in like I don't know, I'm in like Game of Thrones land over here or something instead, or that show or wherever that Vikings show was based.
Which Viking show? The one
I
called
don't know.
Vikings.
They're all the bloody same, aren't they? They're all just like, oh, I'm hairy, I have tattoos, and they go Valhalla, and that's it.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla's not like that. So
Yes, but it's not a Viking show.
true.
It's a game, so it's different.
Yep, an amazing game.
So yes, we're going to be going through these three films, one by one, and giving our opinion on them, which is obviously going to be very good because we watched them 3 weeks ago and we're very much remembering every detail. So,
Topical.
you know, I think we should do them in the order of which we watched them, which would be No Way Home, Uncharted, then
The
followed
back.
by The Batman, and yes. So, Alex, No Way
Oh,
Home.
yes, our second viewing. The first time we rewatched a film in the cinema ever.
Yes, yes, we went back and watched it a second time. That's a good point. Have we ever
Because they,
wondered why is it that all of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies have some feature of home in them?
I think that is on purpose. I think it's like it became the home trilogy.
I guessed it was on purpose because they're naming them, but I just don't get why. Because it's like Far From Home. He is far from home in that. He's in London.
Yep.
That's fine.
London, Prague,
Yeah.
I think one of the places. Yeah.
Homecoming. Well, that he's not. Oh, he's not coming home though because he's already at home for that.
Homecoming has a double meaning because there's the homecoming like arty festival thing that he wants to get a date for, and also it's the first Spider-Man film where Marvel Studios own the rights alongside Sony. So technically, him coming home to Marvel. So there's the double meaning there.
And then we have No Way Home,
Yeah.
which is kind of not really applicable to him at all, but more everyone else because he's at home all the time, except everyone else has come to him and they
Yep.
can't get home.
Yep.
So really, what it should have been called is Spider-Man. I'm at home, but no one else can get back home.
Spider-Man Trouble at Home.
Well, that's pretty much every movie. Spider-Man Trouble. Let's call it that. Spider-Man Trouble 1, Trouble 2, Trouble 3.
Trouble 4.
No, Trouble 4 got cancelled.
We are
Too,
getting another trilogy with
there
Holland. I
was
think
too
the Black
much.
trilogies.
There was too much trouble in Trouble 4, so they took it down. It got racist. Yes. Yes.
You have to bring in the racism because you're great.
Yeah. So, what can we say about No Way Home? It was just as enjoyable as the first time you watched it.
It's still, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man film, the best MCU film, possibly my favorite Marvel film of all time. A genuinely beautiful, utterly satisfying coming together and culmination of almost 20 years of live-action Spider-Man.
Yes. It's like you read the back of the DVD box there.
But it is coming out on DVD in like under a week.
Well, it's out on
Yeah,
streaming
down digital. Yes,
streaming already.
I'm old school.
I know you are. I know you are. I know you are.
kind of that physical media, kind of hold it.
I mean, personally, I think I'm not going to buy it on DVD
You
because
don't buy any films, to be fair, do you?
no, I mean, to be fair, we've watched it twice in the cinema. That is quite a stretch just for us as it is.
Smash shelves of DVDs and everything.
Yes.
And then there,
Oh, for God's sake.
shelves, shelves of books and
I haven't seen those shelves before. I haven't seen that
I
since
had
you
them.
did
I
your
had
room.
them for like 2 years because when we did the complete like routine in my room and that, I wanted somewhere to stick all my books in
I
there.
haven't been in your room for like 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, I
Because,
know. That's why it still smells fresh.
oh, if you're in there,
Yeah,
wanking.
yeah. I'm fresh. I'm so fresh, dog.
No,
Word.
come on. Will Smith's going to come into your room and hit you now
Uh,
for being racist.
oh, I don't even. Zack Snyder's Justice League wins an Oscar, and I'm like, everyone else is like, Will Smith just bitch slapped Chris Rock.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hello.
What's
Oh,
going
goodbye.
on?
Oh, they all just came back from shopping.
What were they shopping for?
This is a weekly food shop, you know.
I was hoping for something a bit more exciting.
You wish it.
So yes, anyway, bringing it back to topic. So yeah, as you say, really, I mostly agree with what you said. Really, just a culmination of 20 odd years of Spider-Man movies coming together
Yeah.
to really kind of, I don't know, tie up all the loose ends, I guess, in a way.
Well, definitely. Well, I'd say there wasn't really much loose ends when it came to Toby, but definitely Andrew Garfield, the best live action Spider-Man, hashtag make 2003.
Well, no, I
He
suppose not,
there
but
was
yeah.
definitely stuff more for him. He
No,
got his redemption when he managed to save Holland's Mary Jane when he failed to save his Gwen Stacy.
yes, but she's not called Mary Jane. So
Oh
that
yeah,
doesn't
Mary.
mean
Oh god,
anything, you scum. Bruno, right
yeah,
now,
she
fucks
is
off.
technically Holland's Mary Jane, even though she's not called
Bruno's
Mary
not
Jane.
even watching anymore. He's clicked off now. You said that.
Now he likes Bruno likes Zendaya. I don't know why.
I don't know. You like Zack Snyder? I don't know why, but there you go.
He is the goat.
Yes, but out of the both of them, I'd rather have sex with Zendaya than Zack Snyder.
Yeah, but Zendaya's just like a streak of piss. There's like nothing to her. She's just like a streak.
Would you like to have sex with Zack Snyder?
No, what? What? No, it's
Because
not even comparable. Is it? Is I'm not into the same gender that I am.
oh, he's been very political about it. So anyway, yes. So I did thoroughly enjoy watching No Way Home again. It was just as funny as it was. All the jokes were still there. It was just
It
a
felt
very
like I was watching it for the first time, being honest. The only slight difference between the two viewings was, of course, there wasn't as much of an "oh my god, he said the thing" with it. I'm something of a scientist myself. So like,
I still found that funny.
you both of us like sort of like face palmed and laughed, and I think we laughed for like another 5 minutes or because we were just like, can't believe he said the thing. I can't believe he said the thing.
I was still laughing when he said it in this one.
Yeah, but it's still like less of the oh my god, he
Yeah.
actually said it. Well, at least it was for me anyway.
Still when they come out of the portals and introduce themselves was still probably the best part
Yeah.
for me. Really, I just still like that
Oh, there's
whole
still
thing.
the wow factor seeing the three Spider-Men all on screen together.
Thing is, I'm sorry, but I just can't. I know Andrew Garfield's a great Spider-Man. I don't deny that or anything else. But I
He's the
just
best.
can't. Whenever I see him doing an American voice, I just can't get Doctor Who out of my mind.
His American accent though is way better than it was in Doctor Who. In Doctor Who's got the full
I know that, because in Doctor Who he sounds like a cowboy.
accent.
In Doctor Who he sounds like a cowboy.
Yeah, I think that's by design because let's be honest, most of the time in Doctor Who when they did it, Just like how in a lot of American media, when they do a Brit, they do the proper like posh British accent, and when they do SAS ones, they make them all sound like Captain Price. A lot of the times on like TV shows and that, when the Brits are doing an American voice, they proper do an American voice. They massively overemphasize the Americanness.
They do.
At least that's my observation, anyway.
He's like, oh, Solomon, I came from Texas.
Nashville, Tennessee, Alabama, sweet home
Yeah.
Alabama.
That part when he lassos onto the back of a Dalek and then rides it, going, yeehaw!
I was wondering where you were going there for a second. When you said when he lassos on the back of a dart, when he lassos, I was like, where's this going? I don't know if I like this.
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I think we've said enough about No Way Home, at least, because we've talked about it before in previous podcasts. So I think realistically,
And I spoke about it a lot with Bruno.
I think we've covered that. So I think we should move on to Uncharted,
Okay.
which is
For
definitely.
Uncharted, do you want me? I'll basically just sort of say like I did in the car after we saw it. Do you want me to sort of go ahead with my thoughts as someone who's basically an Uncharted virgin, or do you want to do your thoughts first?
Well, I think it's best if you. I think it's best if you break your virginity first, then I'll come in and just fuck everything.
Okay. As loads of ones know, I'm not a PlayStation One. Not because I'm like, ooh, PlayStation. I'm just not. I haven't played any of the games. I know Nathan, Drake, obviously. I know Scully. I know Chloe. Is it Lena, the other main girl character?
You got two
Uh,
names wrong then out of all of those.
Chloe, one. No, what the hell?
Did you say Scully instead of Sully?
Sully. So I always thought it was Scully. I don't
Isn't
know why.
Scully? Isn't that from like the X Files or
Yeah, yeah,
something?
yeah. But I know Nate. But still, I know Nathan. I know Nate, obviously.
And
Scully.
Elena is the.
Yeah. Well, I knew she was just another name. I know some bits from the games, like, of course, the train climb in the pole from the second one, the plane sequence in the third one. I know also that bit when he's like walking across the desert in the third one. The bell tower, the like chase in what was it that the PlayStation demo was from? Was where it, like bugged down, they got stuck there for like a minute, but that sequence on the fourth one, the bell tower climb. So I know bits and pieces roughly from the games. Um, but as a general like one who's just going in largely blind, like I said to you, I really liked it. I was really into it. Like I'd always been like, I'll give that a chance when it's on DVD and cheap. And when you said about seeing it, I was like, yeah, got it, why not? But after seeing it, I'm like, okay, I would happily see a sequel to that. I'm into that, Um, I still took quite a bit again used to Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg in the roles because I'll be honest, I still even now I'm like they did a good job. I don't know because of course I'm used to seeing Tom Holland as Spider Man and Mark Wahlberg. I apart from like the Transformers films, I haven't really seen him in anything, so I can't be like, oh my god, when I look at him, I just see this guy. But he just didn't seem to like. I don't know. He seemed to play more himself than and like a character. If you get what I mean, Mark Wahlberg. I don't know how to explain it. He just felt like he wasn't really. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. He just felt. I just felt like I was watching Mark Wahlberg instead of Mark Wahlberg play a character. But by the end, I liked seeing how the relationship developed through the film and sort of where they were at the end, and that the action of course was nuts. So many times I was like, yeah, that I know that bit from that game. This bit would work in a game if it wasn't in a game before, and then you'd often say like, oh, they took bits from this game, and they merged into this bit. Yeah, just like I described it to Shioni when she asked my thoughts. I said just a good, rock solid, 2 hour long action adventure, really.
Mhm.
And again, I would happily see a sequel to it.
Good, good. Well, coming at it from the
Okay,
Uncharted fan point of view, then.
the
So,
uncharted nuts that you are.
as a person who has played through all the
Yep.
games many times,
Multiple times.
just recently as well, I will treat it as I said to Bruno at the time. I treat it as a separate entity, obviously, which it
It is.
is, which
It
it
is,
obviously
yeah.
is. I know that it obviously is that, but tried to treat it as something that isn't copying anything, but is definitely taking inspiration from stuff. And I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I really liked a lot of the cinematography in it, the way they sort of made the worlds feel, the way they really kind of nailed the exploration aspect of it. I think that worked really well because that's a big part of Uncharted, the sort of feeling of discovery and learning and being the first to sort of figure something out, see something for the first time is kind of this feeling of this secret being there all the time and everyone else is oblivious to it, but that's kind of you find it, and that's something that the games do really well, and I think that came across very well in the film. In terms of like the action, as you say, the action was just over the top as ever, which
It
it should
literally
be.
opens with the plane sequence from Uncharted 3, and that whole sequence is as ludicrous and video
Well, a
gamey as
little
you want
different. It's a little different. It's a little different to the one from the
it.
game.
Yeah,
I
but
will
it's
get.
still
I
just
am. I
about.
am going to go through in a second on a game by everything I can remember,
Okay,
analysis, comparison.
okay, okay.
But yeah, the action was just as ludicrous as it should be, really. Which is what you come to expect from having played the games. And I think it works well. It is what it should be. So I think they definitely nailed that kind of aspect of it, and also the kind of just how ludicrous it is in the way how you know what he does and how he somehow survives by all of it. I think that
Oh
worked
crap, oh crap. He actually said the thing several times. He
because
said the thing.
it's not just like it's not just him. Yeah, it's ludicrous in a film where you see someone shoot loads of people without dying. But yeah, in this one, he's like falling off a boat. He's doing this. He's collapsing here, getting hit there, whatever. And but that is how the games are in a way. So it's just he's just very lucky, very very lucky, very very lucky. But that's what kind of makes it so funny because that's how the games work. Because in a way, the games are he is the everyman. He isn't a big strong guy, a superhero. He does get the shit
But
sort of
like at the start of the film, he's just this dude who works in a bar who's
yeah
just really good at pickpocketing.
yeah
And suddenly realizes that, and he's seen something in him, and he's like, okay, let's see what you can do.
pretty
Which I'm
much.
guessing if
Well,
you switch, they should probably say it's similar-ish to in the games.
but then also later revealed that he only came looking for Nathan because of his brother Sam. So, But anyway, going through it on a scene by scene game lift comparison thing, if you like. Um,
Yep.
I can't remember specifically what order all these scenes came in, but I'll try to pretty much do it. Let's start with the plane sequence from the beginning. Obviously, Uncharted 3, very, very iconic scene in that, but similar, not exactly the same as it is in the movie. Obviously, like I said, they took inspiration from it, they didn't copy it. Obviously, completely different scenario in that. In Uncharted 3, after coming out of the plane, you get back in the plane, you shoot up the plane, then the plane blows up, and then you end up flying down into the desert rather than anywhere else into the water, as it is in the movie. Chloe is not there in Uncharted 3. She leaves very early on in the game. Um, Sully's not there either in that sequence. It's just Nathan who's climbing on the plane to try and get into the desert. And yeah, they definitely took a lot of inspiration from it. The way in which sort of all the cargo trailed out, and you have to climb your way back in, fight your way back in, and also how they survive it by managing to attach themselves onto a crate with a parachute. That is the same as it is in the game. That's how Nathan survives. Although he doesn't so much as um, aim for it, the crate just sort of smacks into him in the game, and then he seems to somehow realise that it's a parachute. Um, which is a little different. But there you go. Like I said, it's the inspiration from it.
Yeah.
And then obviously very nicely touched on where they meet Nolan North on the beach after climbing from the
I
water.
that was going to be one of my two sort of final sort of points
Well,
about
we
that.
can
That
go
was
we can
going to
go on
just
to that in a
pop in
second.
when
We can go
you
on to that in a
stuff.
second.
Yeah.
We can go on to that in a second. But yeah. So then moving on. to when we meet Chloe for the first time, and we have the whole kind of puzzle cross sequence. The
Yeah. Some nice parkour as well when Chloe first tries to like backstab
Yeah,
him.
once again,
Some
that's
nice
another sort of thing.
parkour
There's several sort of city type chases throughout the games as well, which I think came across definitely as
stuff.
inspiration in that. The whole idea of the cross being the thing they're looking for is straight out of Uncharted 4, because Uncharted 4's the beginning of that game is you're looking for a cross that has some sort of
Yeah.
hidden thing inside of it. It's a wooden cross in that one rather than these two crosses. Um, and that's kind of the whole point. You're looking for them is to solve a puzzle. Um, to get the second cross in the game, you literally go to a black market auction and steal it by cutting the power, which is exactly what happens in that movie.
Yeah.
In that one,
Oh,
there's
that whole like gallery
yeah,
sequence I love. Just got that classic sort of heist,
yeah,
slightly sort of spy-esque feel on that.
and that's exactly how it works in the game. You know, Nathan goes to do the power, he struggles, and then Sully has to bid on it in the game, pissing off the main bad guy, which is what happens in the movie because he can't get the power, and then he has to start bidding as well. Rather uncomfortably, and then they cut the power, they steal the cross, and that's exactly how it works now. So Uncharted 4 is a huge inspiration for that scene and a cross as well. Um, I really liked the little puzzling. On a side note, all the puzzles in the game, I think they really cut that came across because it's such a big part of Uncharted is not only the action and the adventure, but the puzzles as well, and the figuring out a lot of physical puzzles. And I'm glad they managed to bring that into the film because I think if it had just been all action, it would have lost some of that. I think I'm glad that they had that, the figuring out of how it works, as well as the things like little things like the little traps, when the poison darts fly out and almost get someone.
Yeah.
There's little aspects of that, just little comedy moments that come from the game that obviously they brought across well. Um, Other scenes that come to mind in terms of memories, the uh, when Nate tricks Chloe into the wrong coordinates and she goes on the boat across, that's very similar to Uncharted 4 as well, in the way that the boating across to try and find the kind of pirate
I,
treasure.
I was like, he's learning.
Yeah,
Nate is learning.
he is. Yeah, I mean
But
that
he
whole the
was,
whole sequence where they find the two ships in that
yeah.
big sort of cove cave is obviously once again hugely inspired by Uncharted 4, where there's one ship, Henry Avery's ship, in that big cave that Nathan finds.
I sort of looked over to you and said, I'm guessing this is from a game because that
It's
sort of
more or
that image
less, yeah. It's more or
looks
less.
so positive.
It's
That
very
it has
similar.
to
It's very very similar. It's not exactly the same.
be.
Like I said, none of these scenes are exactly the same, but they're all very similar, and they take inspiration from it. So yeah, that whole thing where they go in, the ship's full of treasure, whatever. That is all very similar to it. In the game, they end up in a sword fight, which is not too once again dissimilar to what happens in the boat. But the boat in the game ends up setting on fire and blowing up, so as in true Uncharted style. Um, and obviously in this one, it then swapped over, and we went back to Uncharted 1, where they actually wrapped the nets around the boats and helicopter lift them out of the cavern, which is very similar to how they get El Dorado out of the big cave on Uncharted 1 by doing that. And in the same fashion, Nathan chases after them by jumping and holding on to it and climbing up to the helicopter as such. Um, so very, very similar there. Also, something that they didn't actually end up doing, but I thought they might, is when they lift the boats out of that cave, you can see they have like a cargo ship on the water waiting. Now that ship is very, very, very similar to how the Uncharted 1 ends, because in Uncharted 1 they lift it out and they fly it onto the ship, and then you have the boss fight on that ship. So that was definitely, I think, a little reference there as well. So very, very, very similar. Um, yeah, plenty of little similarities like that, really. Just from throughout there's probably more that I can't come to mind at the moment. But you can see there's a lot of inspiration they drew from those parts of the games, but didn't copy it outright. But obviously had their own little twist on it, which I think is good. And in true style, the movie ends, and more or less they pretty much destroyed everything and came away with very little. And that's very much the Uncharted formula. They often discover this great thing, this ancient city, this pirate ship full of gold, all goes to shit. It's on fire, blown up, destroyed, never to be seen again. They come away with very little, or a little bit of gold perhaps, but very very little.
Classic like treasure hunt movie thing. Because
Yeah.
Indiana Jones does is a lot like that. Like the Last Crusade, the whole thing is find the Holy Grail, find the Holy Grail. They find it, the like big tomb thing where the Grail starts collapsing and the Grail like falls down a bottomless chasm.
I'd
King of
say
the
the
Crystal Skull, and they lose the skull because of course all the like they bring it back to where the other aliens were, and they all rejoin as one and fly off. So that's all of it, and all the treasure that they
yeah.
hoarded as well. That all gets sucked up into a wormhole.
Yeah, they all
So
get
yeah,
they all get destroyed. They all get destroyed. Uncharted One. Yeah, well, fairly Uncharted One. The island doesn't really get destroyed, but the Spanish monsters kind of ruin everything. Uncharted Two,
I love
Shambhala.
you throw that in. Like the island doesn't get destroyed, but the Spanish monsters kind of. And then like, what Spanish monsters? What?
Yeah, well,
What?
you have to play the game. Uncharted Two, Shambhala gets completely destroyed in a big sort of mudslide. Uncharted 3, Atlantis of the Sands gets destroyed in a big sand wormhole thing. Uncharted 4, the ship explodes. So, there's a lot of blowing up. I'd say there's one more scene came to mind, and that is when you have young Sam and young Nate, in the St. Francis Boys Home, which is from Uncharted 4 as well. Um, in Uncharted 4, it begins with young Nate in the home, and Sam comes and sort of kidnaps him away, and they go and break into a house to look for some of their mother's things. Very, very similar to St. Francis the Nuns and all that, because that's basically how they were raised. And in the game, the basis is that Sam did basically got too old and then ran away, and went to work, and Nathan's been left on his own at the home, and that's the basis of that relationship there, which is very similar to how in the movie how they get caught, and rather than Sam go and get in jail, so that he leaves and leaves Nathan behind at the school to make sure that he's looked after. So that's very similar, as well as the bit where how they get caught, then breaking in and getting that map is very similar to how they break into the home to look for things as well. That's a very sort of just another two scenes there that are very very similar to that, and obviously took a lot of inspiration from it. But there's a lot of liberties taken as well. Like I said, the inspiration between how they meet, what happens and all these things. How does Nathan and Sully meet? Well, it's very different in the games to how it is in the movie. Nathan and Sully meet in the games in Colombia when Nathan is just a boy and he pickpockets Sully, and it's completely different. Sully meets Sam through Nathan rather than meeting Sam before Nathan. There's no story behind the holster in the game, like they give it the one on the pirate ship. There's nothing. There's nothing there.
The
He
Uncharted main
he
thing
has
doing it.
several different holsters throughout the games because he just ends up losing them somehow, or because gets flown off a cliff or something. There's no real story behind them. But it is an iconic look, so I can understand why they did it. The ring that he has, Nathan Drake's.
Because you were wearing that and the thing, and every time they showed it, you were like, hey, hey.
Yeah,
That's right.
I took my Sick Parvis Magna ring with me. Because I had it since the games. I had it before the film. I had it when it was cool. Yeah, the whole idea how he gets the ring in the movies is very different to how he gets it in the games. He steals it from the museum in Colombia in the game when he meets Sully. That's how he gets it. Because he's not actually called Drake. Is not actually their last name at all. It's a name that they take. In the games, they take it because they accidentally get someone killed, so they change their last name, so they sort of start a new life.
Yeah, I think I remember you saying, yeah.
Whereas in the film, it's a little bit different. Because in the games, their last name is Morgan instead. So it's Nathan and Samuel Morgan is their last names. It's their mother's name. So yeah, but they talk a lot about their mother and their dad, and that. So there is definitely a lot of similarities. Just also just a spin on it all, which I enjoyed. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. I really liked all those little references from a fan point of view of the games. I was able to.
And plus, that is a totally separate thing. You're more open to, okay, this is a different take. they
Yeah.
can take liberties with it.
Well,
I'm more okay.
going into it when it's a video game film like that, you go into it two ways in my mind. You either think this is a video game film, so it's either going to be rubbish or it's going to be fine. So
I've seen most video game movies and liked them all, being honest, even
so
ones
when
based on
you yeah,
games.
but when you get to the point when you think actually no, it's going to be fine, then you can look at the same thing and you could yes, you could be a really hardcore game fan and be like that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. But
That's me with the Halo show at the moment.
you look at it and you think yes, they're
Man.
making it based on the games, but what they've done is they've taken a lot from the games as inspiration and they've honoured them as well. They haven't just taken it and disregarded them. There's clearly a lot of love for the games mixed in it as well, which I think is what makes it come across so well. And as we mentioned, with Nolan North appearing on the beach saying he once fell out of a plane, it was just a lovely little moment as well, and I really like that moment as well because it's just so funny.
I wonder if we were the only ones in the audience,
I
because
don't
those
think
ones
so.
are like, who's this guy? And we're like, it's Nolan North.
I mean, obviously, we watched it several weeks after it. We watched it several weeks after it came out in the cinema, so maybe when the first screenings were happening, people perhaps realised more. But I think perhaps when we watched it, there was only like 5 people in there, so it was like, there might have not been as many people watching it as Uncharted fans, just as people that are perhaps more interested in just watching it in general. But I think, yeah, I think it was a nice little touch. And even when I first saw him, I was like, I didn't recognise him straight away because it's one of those things. Being a voice actor, you don't always recognise someone straight away. It's kind of you're more used to their voice, but I do know what he looks like, obviously. But I looked at him, oh wait, that's Nolan North. Where's Nolan North on a Sun Lounger? It's like,
He's
oh,
breaking
you're
the
the
fourth.
new ones. I just think it was great, and also something I'd like to point out is I like how they incorporated some of the game soundtrack into the movie as well. They
Like
didn't
I
go
said,
out
when he gets the holster, they play the main theme.
they didn't outright copy it, but they're definitely that kind of that sting, if you like, wanting to call it that,
Yeah.
of that kind of bit is incorporated throughout nicely. So yeah, I did enjoy it as a separate entity, as how I'm treating it, which it obviously is. I know, Bruno, I know, but yeah, when I say I treat it as a separate entity, I mean I don't go in with any game bias in my head. I treat it as its own thing. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I hope if they do a sequel, then yeah, it should be good.
My three final things I was going to say about it. The first one was what you said, Nolan North. The second one, when they killed Antonio, when spoilers for anyone who's listening to this and actually wants to see it and that, just go silent for like the next minute. When they killed Antonio Banderas off, I was like, what?
It
Because
was
the
good.
trailers and everything, and the film builds him up as a villain. They build him up quite well, and then you suddenly opt, and I'm like, whoa! I didn't expect that, you know. And the woman who they have as a replacement villain, she's a good villain. She has history with Nate. She has some good like action sequences with Sully and that. She's a decent
In a
villain. But
way,
I twist was like,
that's not too dissimilar to Uncharted One in a way, where at the end of that, I'm not going to say spoilers because you should have played it by now. It's nearly 15 years old,
if you haven't played it by now, it's because you probably don't really care that much.
and at the
Let's
end
be
of
honest.
that, the main villain throughout the entire game, Roman, he goes to open the El Dorado, which turns out to be a cursed thing, which is why the Spanish monsters existed. That's a bit of context for you. The main bodyguard, Navarro, actually tricks him into doing this, and then he almost starts to turn into a monster, the bad guy himself, and then he kills him and steals his entire army. So it's very similar in a way, but that's just kind of that's just how that world is. No honor among thieves, that kind of adage. And yeah,
Um,
no,
my
and
very,
that
very final point: the post-credit scene. Not saying again, no spoilers at all for anyone watching this or listening to this who wants to see it. In hindsight, that was kind of a predictable reveal at the end. Being honest, wasn't it?
well, I suppose yeah. I mean, it also in parallel with the games in Uncharted 4. At the beginning, you see Sam supposedly get killed in the prison escape, so you believe he is dead for a while.
Mm.
Which is why he doesn't appear in any of the three other games because Nathan presumably thinks for the best part of you know 10, 15 years that his brother is dead. So
It's not a retcon, guys. He just thought he was dead and was okay with thinking that.
he just thought he was dead. So and then he comes back again. So, and you know, as you said, he's now writing another letter in the end of that film. So
Mm.
yeah, I think I think they did really well. And it's really interesting to see how now that after Antonio has died, how that's going to be one of his lives in a new Puss in Boots movie.
Oh god, I still can't believe that's happening. The first book. When was the first Puss in Boots film? Like 20. I want to say 2012. I'm looking it up.
Well, it
Because I
before
heard it
that,
was
I'd
coming,
say.
I was like, why? Why? It's not even like okay. If they were doing a Shrek reboot, I was
Because
like,
you
I'd be
know,
like,
because
okay,
people are a fan of his character and they haven't done anything on it for ages.
yeah, exactly. It's a dead franchise.
Not really.
Uh,
Any of that kind of stuff. I mean, if
the
they can
first one was
make
27.
if they can make four Shrek movies, then they can they can come out and do that.
I guess, but still, the Shrek. When was the Shrek films? Shrek films was 01, 04, 07, and 2010. That's a decent, like, it's not 11 years.
Yeah, but the thing is, in the last 12 years, Shrek has become more of a rape icon online.
I can't disagree with you there.
So you know, Puss in Boots hasn't. Puss in Boots has remained kind of. I think it's always
Oh,
had a fan base, though, hasn't it? Really.
they're planning a fifth Shrek film.
Huh?
Just let it die. Eddie Murphy confirmed that they're doing a fifth Shrek film and the script has been complete since like 2016. Why? Why?
Because
Why
like,
can't we can't get Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, but we're getting a fifth Shrek film and a second Puss in Boots film.
yeah, but I think you'd have to argue that you know the
He's
Shrek
based off of
franchise has
the-
been phenomenally more popular and well known than anything Zack Snyder's done.
Yeah, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Yeah, Shrek
Yeah,
is more well known than Batman, Superman, and Wonder
yeah, but
Woman.
this is like a proper. Is it what? Is it DreamWorks that makes Shrek?
Yeah, which is just discount Pixar.
I know, but yeah, but those are iconic films from like a lot of people's childhoods, aren't they? So I mean, you can't go against that kind of thing.
Shrek is only endured because of memes. That's it. Not because the actual film, like these actual films.
You know, it's just a matter of opinion. But anyway, yeah, we're not talking about Shrek. We're talking about Uncharted. This is not Ben and Alex go through and review Shrek 1 to 4 because I don't even
No,
remember anything out of
I
them.
haven't even seen the third and fourth ones, and I've
Get
seen the
out
first
of
one.
my swamp!
What are you doing in my swamp? Shrek is love. Shrek is life. Remember that.
Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
I haven't watched that in years.
We should watch all those and review those on the podcast.
Go ahead. Well, on your old channel, we did that with two girls, one cup, and one man, one screwdriver. No,
Yes.
one man, one car.
Yeah. 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 Which was your preferred one of those two?
One was gross, one was painful.
I don't know. I've read into a lot of Two Girls One Cup stuff, and apparently it's not actually pure at all.
Mm,
Because the people that made that film, they got took to court over it, basically because it would have been unsafe, and they had to basically prove that it was actually just chocolate ice cream.
why and when have you looked into it? Like, being serious.
I think it was the other day when we were just randomly discussing it for some reason.
I don't. I don't remember discussing. I don't remember discussing it.
It came up somewhere in our group chat.
I will have to scroll back because I don't remember this at all.
It doesn't matter anyway. It's not important. But I'm
I
just
was going to
saying.
say, what if she only barely makes an appearance in that? If she goes on there and like, what do I think about today? You don't look at no, just
Yeah,
no.
it's not the worst thing she's seen in our group.
I think I don't think she's actually, well, I don't think she's seen any of that stuff. Anyway,
That's
move
good.
on.
That's good. That's good. Probably for the best. So yes, let's move on then to our
Oh,
third.
and I'll be like, what is this stuff, Alexios? No, no, move on, move on.
Let's move on to our third and final film, which is The Batman. Our foray into Batman. I couldn't think of what to say. So yes, I'll begin with this one because I feel like if I let you carry on, we'll be here for the next hour.
Yep.
Which I will
You,
say, I'm saying now, you're not allowed to talk for ages. You have to keep it.
anyone listening to this is thinking, is Alex going to say what I think he's going to say, or is he going to at least somewhat allude to what I think he will? Yes, on both accounts, most likely.
We hope that you've got your on the Spotcast bingo cards ready to tick off all the things that Alex is going to say.
We've not mentioned Zack Snyder, Zack Snyder's
We could
Justice
do
League.
that. I mean, we could fucking. I could make that up and give it out as a free PDF to the fans in the description. A fucking bingo card. Snyder, yeah. Batman, yeah.
You're a
Justice
YouTube,
League,
you're a
yeah.
YouTube poll. Do you want Alex to keep talking about? Do you want Alex to stop
Alex
mentioning?
says something racist. Tick.
I'm not racist. I'm racist in at
Shia
least three.
O'Neill, tick. Fucking play on the Spotcast bingo, everyone. It's a new series in its own. That is. But anyway, yes, I'll start. I'll go first. Let me just have a sip of my intelligence juice. Ah, yes, mise en scene.
Oui, oui.
So yes, the Batman. Um, I really enjoyed it, and that's it. Though. No, I really enjoyed it. It was very, very different to any of the Batman films that came before it in a very good way. I really loved how dark. I know all of them are dark and gritty because it's Batman, but let me make a point. I really liked how sort of dark and visceral it was, as opposed to um, the more kind of dark and sort of flight of fantasy of the other ones. How, you know, I really like how he was portrayed to be not invulnerable. You know, no, not unbeatable. You know, there was times when he was just getting shot point blank, or he was getting punched a lot. You know, he wasn't meant to be this kind of really amazing thing. He was really came very down to earth kind of
Well, that is
Batman.
one of the reasons why Batman is so popular and so good. Under the
Yeah,
intelligence, the
he's really
training, the
relatable.
gas, the money. He's just a dude. He's just
Yeah,
yes, he is the peak of what humanity can achieve physically and mentally, but he is still
yes,
just human.
he's very
He's a
relatable because we
man.
all. He's very relatable because we all have our parents murdered when we were millionaires at the age of
Yeah.
9.
And we all have massive trust funds,
Yes, so very
which is that
relatable. I don't know
thing
about
that
you, but
really
I do. So
about the film.
yeah, very relatable. But no, I really enjoyed it. I think for me, the part I enjoyed the most was perhaps the cinematography of it all. Um, as I said to you at the time, it was done by the same person who did Rogue One and the Mandalorian scene with Luke coming down the corridor. This
I
guy
think he
likes.
also did Dune. I think he
He
did the
did. He
Dune
did. He
film as
did.
well.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that, so I can't comment too much on that
I
one.
once part two is out, I'm buying the inevitable DVD box set and watching both of them.
But you know, that guy knows how to do cinematography, man.
Hmm.
And he nails it from the beginning. That is, I have to say, out of all the Batman films I've seen, that is probably my favourite portrayal of Gotham. I really think they really nailed the slums and the feel of it and how wet it was. Always raining in Gotham. We know that from the games. It's
Yeah,
always raining, never stops for some reason. Um,
it's always raining and it's also always at night, and even
you
during the
know,
day, it's overcast. There's
the
no
sort
bright
of
sunny days.
all of the driving sequences on the motorbikes, and they really nailed the cinematography, the lights. As we say, this guy, I can't remember his name, but whoever does the cinematography, he loves corridor scenes. He loves a dark corridor, enemies waiting, and then the guy steps out and then fucks shit up as he comes down the corridor in flashes
Dark,
of light. So you
dark.
can't fully see what he's doing, but every now and then the light appears and you see him fucking shit up here and there. And it's the same as in Rogue One. You know, Rogue One's best scene is when Vader comes down that corridor and fucks up
Yep.
the rebels. You know? Admittedly, much more violent than Batman, but that's because he's Vader and he has a lightsaber. So, you know, and he literally crushing people to death and that, you know. I saw a great thing online actually comparing Vader's different kinds of force chokes throughout the Star Wars thing because
I
I know it's a slight tangent here, but it's noted that in the first original films, if he wants to force choke someone, he only does it like this, so he only grips it slowly, choking them. But
Yeah.
in Rogue One, you actually see him just go like this and go. So you actually see,
And in, and in Empire Strikes Back,
yeah,
there's the bit where he strangles Admiral Ozzel. He does it via video transmission from the execution of Super Star Destroyer to Admiral Ozzel Star Destroyer, and he's just sitting there. He doesn't even have to lift his hand. He's just doing it.
but it's quite a good point that when you see him doing the slow one, you can tell he's actually doing it deliberately because he can actually just crush the rebels. I mean, if you wanna go through video call force, I mean, look at the look at the fucking Raid trilogy when fucking Snoke literally picks up the Admiral guy and drags him around on the floor using the
I've literally
force.
never heard anyone call the sequel trilogy the Raid trilogy.
I couldn't think of a better thing to call it.
The sequel trilogy. That's just what it's called, or the non-canon trilogy, as both the ones call it.
But anyway, that's what came to mind. So yeah. Anyway, moving back on to Batman. But yeah, I really enjoyed this whole cinematography. The way they filmed it, they really nailed every sequence. I think it really added to the visceral nature. It's from the slums in the Gotham, from riding about in the rain, to the fight sequences and how they nailed that, to the graffiti on the trains and the underground, to the club that they go into and how sort of grotty that is, and they really nailed it as well as coming across and something. Yeah, they just nailed all that cinematography of it, and that's for me. It was one of the favorite parts of the feel of it and the real oppressive feel of it as well. I think they really nailed that for Gotham. In terms of the actual film content, I really enjoyed it. I really loved the more detective nature of this
Yeah.
film, which, although was present in the previous ones, I think it was very detective heavy in this one, especially with the Riddler being the main villain and all the.
That was a big thing that Matt Reeves kept saying all the build up to it. This is the first time you see the world's greatest detective aspect of Batman brought to the
Yeah,
forefront.
and and I think it really came across well. There was a lot of that, but there was also it wasn't what I liked about it is it wasn't just him solving everything perfectly. There was a lot of errors there. He doesn't end up saving that guy who's got the bomb vest on him. He dies. He tries to, but he fails. It shows that Batman can fail as well. He's learning about Riddler throughout that film. He's learning how he works more and more and more until he's got him figured out at the end. And I think I really like that. Just really like the whole detective aspect of it. The fighting was really good as well. Very brutal, very visceral. I really enjoyed that. I just really enjoyed how they painted him to be as vulnerable as he was, because
Mm.
even though we know he is human and he doesn't have powers, he
Mm.
just has money. Um, sometimes in the films he can come across as almost unstoppable, but in this, I really like how he had this vulnerability. I also something I really liked is how Bruce Wayne was portrayed in this one. You know, definitely nailed across his depression.
Well, in this film, he hasn't really got the Bruce. Because let's be honest, Bruce Wayne has always been more the mask, and Batman has been the more real
Yes.
sort of thing in it. In this film, he hasn't quite got Bruce Wayne down, has he? Because he's not like all the way like Wayne Enterprises
Yeah.
is sort of like fumbling. The Wayne Foundation's like nothing. He's just 100% focused on being Batman. In this. He
Yeah, but
hasn't got,
obviously that changes throughout the film. By the end of it, he's starting
and it'll
to.
definitely like be
Yeah.
a thing that you'll see come to be more and evolve across the sequels as well.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously seems to get onto that. Yeah, I think that aspect came across. I really liked Andy Serkis did a good job as Alfred. His British accent was convincing enough, but not too cheesy. Um, although he didn't at any point say precious, which I think was an opportunity. I can't help it though. Even seeing him,
I looked up.
even
Andy Serkis is a Brit.
even, huh?
Andy Serkis is British. I just looked it up.
Is he?
Yeah, he's British.
You told
English
me
actor
you
and
t-
producer.
you told me he was American at the time.
I didn't know what he was. He was born in Middlesex.
Oh, well. Why? Maybe his British accent was convincing for a reason then.
I don't know what his real voice sounds like, though. That's the thing. I don't know whether he overemphasized the accent in the film. I don't know.
I think he does a little bit, perhaps. He's definitely meant to have more of a sort of a Londony Cockney accent to him, which is what Alfred obviously suits. But I liked Alfred's role in this more. I think they definitely incorporated him as less of just a butler and sort of guardian of Bruce Wayne, and definitely got more involved. He got more involved in the whole puzzle solving aspects, in the just all the aspect of everything, really. He got very heavily involved, which he does in the games, and especially in some of the Batman lore. Because I think in the comic book sort of history, Alfred was like a spy, wasn't he? I think.
In so many of the more modern sort of origins, and it's the same in like BVS and that he was like a soldier or a spy or MI6 or something
Yeah,
like that.
but
I'm gonna think.
he has some kind of like historic training that it's focused a lot on actually in the Batman Telltale games. It delves into a lot of that because you have a kind
There's
of
even have you heard of the show Pennyworth?
yes,
That is literally young Alfred during his spy days.
yeah. So I mean, it's mentioned a lot that in like I said in Telltale Batman they cover it a lot on how Bruce isn't too worried about Alfred being kidnapped because he's got training, and that is in the same way. That's how he always patches Bruce up because he's trained to do that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I really like that. I really liked the portrayal of Bruce Wayne. I think credit where credit's due. When we first heard that Robert Pattinson was going to be playing
Like
Batman,
everyone, we were like, oh, it's quite Edward from Twilight.
but I think he really, to be fair, I think he really shook off. I think he really did a fantastic job, and I think credit where credit's due. Um, I think and I find it funny because
He spent his post Twilight career very well because I think he went into like the smaller scale sort of independent stuff
yeah,
and then he sort of came back a bit more into like blockbuster stuff. He really spent the post Twilight years like sort of hone his craft and really, try and restore like
more
build.
than any of the other actors out of that film that I can come to mind, really.
Kristen Stewart's not done too bad. I think she almost won. She was nominated for an Oscar
I
for
suppose.
playing in the Diana film, so she's not done too bad for herself.
But I think in yeah, no, I suppose that's true. That is true. Yeah, I forget about them ones. But yeah, yeah, no, I think he did really well. And credit where credit's due. I think he played the role really well, and I think yeah, I think it was good. I still like I said, I remember what I said to you at the time where I saw that meme online saying for the role of Bruce Wayne and Batman, Robert Pattinson spent many years training as a vampire on Twilight to get the right level of depression to play Bruce Wayne, which I found quite funny. But yeah, I think he does. I think he does that kind of character well. He does that kind of emotionless character well. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the whole thing. Really, it was a very different Batman film, but in a good way. And I look forward to seeing where they go next.
Mm.
I will let you talk now. I'll just get my bingo card ready.
Okay, this was one of the, as you know, like even trying to get me to watch the thing with you. I think everyone knows my current stance on Warner Bros. And DC films and
Yes.
everything, and this was yeah. So and that's in the current sort of climate where we're at, where we spent 3.5 years to get Justice League One. We're still waiting for the sequels. Everyone wants them. Current WB are being petty bitches. New man from
Well, hold on. Let's hold on.
um,
Everyone wants them. Let's just say not everyone wants
the
them.
majority of the fan base wants them. Let's leave it at that. The majority of the fan base wants them. Um, and yeah, in that sort of climate, that current climate, and my current headspace, the Batman was such a frustrating watch because in a world where either we got Snyder, like WB left alone, and we got Snyder's full story, so Batflex arc and all that's done, or when the hashtag restore the Snyderverse is successful and we get it, holy crap, this best live action Gotham, best live action Riddler, best live action Catwoman, best live action Penguin. Um, Robert Pattinson's my second favorite Batman. Jeffrey Wright may be my favorite Gordon. J.K. Simmons, yeah, I like him in the Snyder Cut. We ain't seen a lot of him. We'd have gotten more in Batman solo film, obviously. But in terms of,
He's a menace.
I haven't quite seen enough of him to sort of judge, even I'll admit that. But compared to Gary Oldman, I know Sackler, compared to Gary Oldman, compared to Patton, is what's his name from the Burton and Schumacher films. Um, you know, yeah, just like Jeffrey Wright is just from minute one. Like I'll admit when he was cast, I was like a Black Commissioner Gordon, okay, but like from minute one, I didn't disbelieve in the role. He was good. Like you say, visually, this film is insane. The action is insane. Oh, the tone of this film is so what I want from Batman. This tone is so perfect. It's so dark and it's so foreboding and rainy and just like I love this film's tone. This film's tone is so perfectly Batman, and that's why I love why I said it's the best live action Riddler. This Paul Dano's Riddler is insane. Wow. Ah, and that's what makes this film frustrating in my current stance with DC films and Warner Bros. Because this film is so good, and I'm so glad that we are getting a trilogy of this. But Warner Bros. Need to fix their shit and give us Snyder fans closure to Batfleck story and all that, so we can happily move on and let ourselves fully enjoy this stuff.
Wait, hold on a second. Are you a Zack Snyder fan?
What made you say that?
I'd never realised it before. It's not like you go on about it enough.
I don't like to put it up much because
I didn't think you did. No.
I get a lot of shit for it. That's not even a joke, that part. I do get a lot of shit for it. I got banned from a Discord server because of it.
I'm waiting for you to somehow break the rules and get banned from your own Discord server.
Yeah, like I'm going to ban myself from my own Discord server.
I'm sure you'll manage it somehow. I'm sure you'll manage it.
Yeah.
Silent night.
Why are you playing with Matthew?
Because some men just want to watch the world burn.
Also in the build up to this, even from the trailers, even if I hadn't seen it, I was like, I knew I'm going to like this more than the Nolan trilogy. Yes, this single film, kills the Nolan trilogy in my opinion in literally every way. As if Snyder's stuff with Batfleck and BVS didn't already. I'm going to be honest, Nolan trilogy, get out of here. It's irrelevant. We've already got a better live action. So we already got Snyder giving us Batfleck, which is the best live action Batman ever, and now we've got Matt Reeves giving us the best ever solo Batman film ever. Nolan, Ledger, Bale, all of that. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're irrelevant now, even more so than you were before. I know that's massively controversial, but I'm a massively controversial guy.
Everything you say is massively controversial.
Yeah. G1 is not the be all end all of Transformers. The Michael Bay films are the better Transformers film. Halo 4 is the best Halo film. Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther are trash. We didn't get a good Avengers film till Infinity War. What other massively controversial stuff can I say? Oh yeah, the Mass Effect 3 ending, both versions are fine. Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Valhalla are great Assassin's Creed games. Gears of War 5 is the best Gears of War game. The Last Jedi is a good Star Wars film. The prequel trilogy is better than the original trilogy. Hayden Christensen, even though that one's not quite so controversial now, Hayden Christensen was always a good Anakin Skywalker. George Lucas is actually a solid director. Not so much writer, but solid director. Black Ops 3 has got an amazing story. I could keep going with this. I have so many. Altair was crap until Revelations and the Secret Crusade made him good.
Well, that's true, that one, isn't it? But
yeah, that one's true. But you tell that to some Assassin's Creed fans and they'll half crucify you. Like, you don't understand character development and Altair's story in Assassin's Creed 1. I understand that in Assassin's Creed 1 he's literally nothing of a character. He's what Assassin's Creed 3 haters think Connor is. That's another one. Connor is actually a good character. He's not boring and bland. He's just emotionally subdued. I think that'll do it for now.
Yes, I
Join,
think it will as well.
tune in next week for more of my controversial takes.
Yes. Tune in next week where Alex gets my YouTube channel taken down.
Oh, and here's another thing. Witcher sucks dick. LOL!
Oh, well. I'd say I was quite
Only
uncalled for, you know. Or
in your presence. When in Shion's presence, Witcher is amazing. But then she leaves and it becomes bad.
but she's present all the time. She's the number one podcast viewer, I think. I mean, there's got to be someone else. I mean, there's like 10 or 12. I mean, it's like whenever I look at the analytics even
Yeah.
for this podcast, there is somewhere there's about 10 or 12 of the same people that keep coming back. I just don't know who they are.
I do know I rewatch all our stuff most of the time. I usually skip your bits and just watch my bits, but still. Shionium almost certainly watches everything religiously. She probably, like me, fast forwards your bits and just watches my bits. But still, that's a view.
No,
That's two viewings we've got. I don't know who the others are. Isabel? Is Isabel like watching our stuff?
not that much. I mean, I guess you watched the podcast, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I can have a little look back if you like. I
Bruno
can,
these days, I will say. I don't know about Bruno these days.
I know that the last podcast has 13 views,
That's unlucky.
which is about average for the podcast.
She only been busy, of course, more these days with studying and work stuff, and that probably, if you see a decline in the, that's probably why there's a slight decline in some of them.
I can
I
see
wouldn't be
that.
surprised.
I can see that out of the people that watched it, 30% found it via searching in YouTube, not necessarily for us, but just searching. 30% found another 30% found it on just channel pages, and then the
Yeah,
rest of it was from an external source. The top
yeah.
external source was Facebook.
I don't know who the hell that could be.
I don't know, unless it just gets suggested in Facebook. I don't know for some reason.
Or if you, when you post the link in like Messenger in the group chat and someone see it from there. I don't. I don't know if she only does, because I know
Possibly.
she
Don't
subs,
know.
so she might see on her subscription page where she's on Facebook a lot. She sees like the link pop up on Messenger thing or something, and that's where she like sort of watches from. I don't know. I don't know who else it would be because I don't know who else is subbed and actually knows about this stuff. Who'd see it on Facebook and that, unless you do like you, because I know you don't like post an update, but like every time you upload one, being like, "New podcast, watch now!" Like a lot of these big YouTubers do.
Yeah, that's because I don't care enough. But I can say that out of the 82% of the people that watched the podcast were subscribed. 18% of the people that watched it were not. So pretty good there. Yeah. I mean, if we want, we can have a brief look through the analytics in general. I mean, out of my top 5 videos across the last 28 days, making a lightsaber was number one. The last 4G video was before that, and another 3 different 4G videos after that. I made 34,000 impressions on people.
Oh dear.
YouTube search, 72% people found me on YouTube search. Google search gave me 62% of my audience. Bing gave me 1%. DuckDuckGo.com gave me 0.5%. Google Go gave me 0.2%, and a website called com.underbot.android.najuscalo gave me 0.2%. My top search terms was for my 4G and DIY lightsaber. I managed to get them mostly. And engagement wise, yeah, my top playlist, my audience. I can see where most people. What do you think my most popular age group is?
I've no idea. Eight,
Yes.
8 to 10 year olds.
8 to 10 year olds?
I don't know.
No, my most popular age group is 25 to 34-year-olds.
Ah, that sounds about right.
Swiftly followed by 18 to 24-year-olds, and then 35 to 44-year-olds. Yes. Apparently my audience is 100% male.
What the?
I'm guessing the
Okay. I don't know if
guess
there's much union, but okay.
I'm guessing the very little female audience we have doesn't do enough to register. In terms of the geographies of my channel,
Yeah,
29% comes from the UK, 10% comes from America,
yeah,
India has 1.4%,
yeah.
and Ethiopia has 0.3%, which is kind
Would
of funny.
Tunisia come under? I know it's not. I know it's a different country, but is that like them trying to find Tunisia? And it's like we got to Ethiopia. This is close enough.
But yeah, so a few random countries on
It's
there.
random.
Most people view our videos without subtitles.
Mm.
So 1.2% of people have it auto translated into French and then into Spanish.
Uh,
0.0
uh,
0.9% of our
she only
audience
do
has
it
it
in
auto.
French or not?
Huh?
You know, she only speaks because she only speaks like well, a native Tunisian, obviously, and English and French. And you said about translate to French. I'm like, I don't know if she
Well,
translated to French. If I think a bit more than
surely her native would be Arabic.
true. Yeah, I don't know. I'm an ignorant Brit. I don't
But she
know.
speaks English as well, so
Yeah, and French as well. But
so
you said about
yeah.
translating to French, and I was
But
like,
the next little fact I was going to pull out before you said that was 0.9% of our audience have it auto translated into Arabic.
oh, that's
So
her maybe. I don't
so
know if she share.
yeah.
I don't know if she shares it with any of her friends or whatnot. I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure she still wants them to be her friends, so she probably doesn't.
Ooh, well, yeah, make the podcast just me, and it'll be safe to show her. Imagine me doing a solo podcast. That'd be an interesting experience.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alex Ward podcast.
There's 10 reasons why Zack Snyder is the go to DC.
And here's a picture of my penis. Isn't that lovely? Oh dear. Alex has gone very subdued now. It's a good way to stop him from talking about Snyder stuff, I guess.
Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag release the Air cut. Hashtag Batfleck solo film. Hashtag Bike sequel. Hashtag make Tasm free. What ones am I missing? Was that all of them? I think that's all of them.
I don't fucking know. You bastard.
Love you too.
Well, no. The feeling is not mutual.
Good, I'm good. I'm too good for you.
Bruno is the only one for me.
I saw your comment in the group chat,
Yeah.
and happy birthday, gorgeous. And he was just like, "Thank you." He's just like, "Screw it, I'm just going to accept this."
He just has to accept the abuse now. We've broken him. Now he just takes the abuse. He doesn't fight anymore. Well, it's got dark, isn't
It's something.
it? Anyway, guys, I think we'll end that podcast here because you know we might say something a bit too dodgy soon. So yes.
No surprise guests again. You leave it open in the group chat, and no one's like, not even like I don't know,
Oh
pop in and say
wait,
that would be offensive and then
hold
leave.
on, hold on. There
What?
is a surprise guest.
Oh no, not Steve. If it's Steve, I'm leaving right now. If this is Steve, if this is Steve, I am going. I am gone.
Hello,
Yes, Christ, I felt that quake from here.
surprise guest.
At
Hey!
least it's cool, Steve. cool, Steve, the panda.
It's a badger.
Badger.
Panda.
Sorry. I saw the black bits on the white face. Yeah.
Badger. This isn't cool, Steve. It's the only version of Steve. He regenerated. The other Steve doesn't exist.
Yeah, I try and forget that whole thing happened, to be honest. It
So,
helps me sleep there at night.
Steve, what do you think of Batman? He said he really enjoyed the cinematography as well. What do you think of the Uncharted film? He said he really enjoyed it as well. What about No Way Home? Oh, you're saying you want to do Spider-Man web shoots of your own, you want to...
Spider Steve does whatever a Spider Steve does.
Yeah, sort of climb on the wall behind me and go.
He can get the cobweb that's in the middle. And he can get the cobweb that's high in the corner of the room.
You think this has gone a bit weird now?
A bit. You brought in Steve. Yes, it's Badger Steve, so it's cooler because badgers are cool, but still.
Apparently, Steve wants to... What does it say?
Oh, God, what the hell is this going to be?
Oh, he wants to say hello to Sionium.
No one else. Okay, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put my foot down. No one else can use that name except me.
But Sionium...
Okay?
But...
No one else can use that name other than me.
Oh. But Sionium says on YouTube that she loves Badger Steve.
Well, cooler than Wolf Steve, but still.
What's that? Hello, Shionium, he says. Oh, you want her to call you... You want her to call... Oh, Steve Exios. All right. Do you think Alex is a bit stupid? Yeah, I thought you would. You think that Evie likes you more? You think Shionium likes you more than Alex? Yeah. No surprises there. It's not me, man. He's got a mind of his own. So, anyway then, guys. Now Alex is suffering some sort of major trauma.
Suffering something, boy, trust me.
It is goodbye from me.
And me.
And it's hello, Shionium from Steve.
No one can use that nickname other than me. It was decreed when I first used it over 3.5 years ago. No one else can use it but me. Deal with it.
What's that, Steve? You want to turn Alex off now? What's that, Steve? You want to show me what you're going to do to Shionium when you meet her?
Okay, we're going. Bye.
Thank you for watching, everyone. We've actually made Alex rage quit a podcast. Isn't that brilliant? Well, Steve, we had a great time. Ciao.
I have expected you. Greetings. Do you know why I live here? Yes. I have been pondering on exactly that question. All in good time. First, a question for you. Imagine but a whisper pushing aside all in its path. What will you burn? What will you spare? Yes. Few could resist such a challenge. You once told me you did not believe in destiny. Do you have no better reason for acting than destiny? Are you nothing but a plaything of fate? Yes. Do not be afraid. Fulfill your destiny. Few could resist such a challenge. Why do you delay? What else would you seek? Go then. Fare thee well. Do not be afraid. Remember well. Power, you have it. But power is inert without action and choice.